Hello, everyone. I'm Alex Blevin. We're here together through Sun and Moon Yoga Studios YouTube portal. We'll be centering, we'll be getting present, we'll be moving a tiny bit, we'll be pondering some inquiries, and then we'll sit still to deepen the presence and deepen the remembrance and recognition of that, to have it with us for better or for worse when times are turbulent and when times are good. Um, My theme today, the title of this YouTube is horse whispering, and the what's it called, thumbnail. The image is from a few weeks ago when Rocky and I stayed on a horse farm in Kentucky, and his first encounter with that big beast, the beautiful big beast. So we're going to start at standing today, and I'll say a little bit more about my theme. I'll draw on poetry again, probably the same poetry as yesterday. And I also want to thank you for being here with me. I have a name new to me on the registration, Kathy Harshbarger. Thank you for trying this out. Kind of a distant way to get intimate and do our practice together, and yet so intimate, right? Can be. And Nancy and Manda and Lauren again have registered. And as I said last week, you don't have to register. There's no fee for this class, but it just helps me feel connected. And I know others of you out there who are watching, and Catherine, sometimes Gail, I don't know if Lincoln watches, sometimes Kamalesh, many of you who join me, not necessarily in this time period right now, but later, and that's a wonderful tool we have available to us now to do that. So the standing practice the practice I like to start with is from standing. You can do it sitting. You can do it lying down. Not quite the same, but please feel free to do what you need to care for yourself. Have what you need to stay comfortable. I've got some cushions near me for the sitting part, for the stillness and sitting part, to sit on, to put under my knee. I've got a wrap in case I get chilly. So let's get to it. All right, standing. And I may need to adjust my viewer here. Um, I first want you to see my feet, and I will adjust it so, maybe you can see most of me there. All right. So standing, just stand easily. Don't adjust or correct too much. Just come to stand and feel yourself standing. And something that's become so powerful to me in this last 10 years or a little bit more uh, of the Feldenkrais practice, which I think is it's like a mini yoga or mini Ashtanga, mini flow yoga, where we are really paying attention to the whole self. So much in yoga. So say you're learning a triangle pose and you're placing your feet, you're feeling where your feet are, you're feeling where your hips are, feeling the spine, you're feeling where your arms, hands, where your neck and head are. And that is so much of what Feldenkrais is about, and about connecting all those dots and the space we're in. And yoga does that as well. Just the ground we're on, feeling the support of the ground, feeling the space around us, feeling the gravitational pull and what goes with how we can let our body go with that, and then how we can include its partner, levity. And so perhaps even in my speaking that, you might sense where your body, where your center of motion here, the root of motion that joins to our hips, to our spine, um, joins the lower body mobility of the legs with the steadiness of the hip and low back area, and the upward mobility through the heart, out through the arms, and through the spine, up through the head. So let's step right foot forward, just a little bit, and I'd like you to shift weight as if coming from this what I call the golden ball in this lower torso area, lower belly, just above the pelvic floor. I've got my hands, one on the front, one on the back to help me feel. And in some ways, when I was first learning this movement, this gesture, and the partner I was working with was saying, move from your, he was sensing I was moving more from my upper body, I think. Or maybe I was moving more from my legs, which is just something we need to find. You know how they say when you're shoveling or lifting something, use your legs. Or how do we find that location in ourselves? What are we using? How's it connected? How's it blocked? And not to heavy duty pressure, just feel and enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Okay, now settle your weight back onto your back leg, your left leg, and my right foot, the heel is on the ground, the balls of the feet, the toes are lightly touching. Let's once again roll forward and let the heel of the back leg, the left leg, lift if needed, probably needed to do that. If you stood real close, you might not need to, but my step's a little wider. And then back and forth a few more times. All right, land back into more weight in the back leg. The front leg is sort of like a training wheel almost. Arms down at your sides for a moment and just feel, breathe, listen, and sense the way the feet are and the legs, excuse me, the hips, the belly are letting go downward. And maybe even you'll feel through the ribs, the spine, the shoulders, how that letting go is happening. There is a sort of flow in the letting go. This grounding, so useful to remembering that we're just right here. Our mind can take us in so many directions and important ones, fun ones, difficult ones. But if we lose the sense of being right here, it becomes unbalanced and really not true anymore. So important to always come back to what's right here. Now, with an in breath, we'll roll that golden ball forward and put the weight onto the right leg. Looking forward, just lift the arms up. And with the exhale, bring the arms back down, cutting through the space around us. No more of the weight back onto the standing leg, as if from the golden ball, shifting weight forward, looking forward, arms up. And we get this continuity, exhaling back. We get to feel this continuity of the earth supporting us, giving to us in that way, and this reach upward to something bigger than ourselves, the universe, to God, to our higher self, to everyone, to all we're connected to. And then let's stay with the lift upward, stay with the weight on the front leg, feel that the back leg is there, training wheel like, support like in its own way, in an anchor outward, looking forward so we know we are here, and we see what's in front of us. We might feel what's in back of us, as well as feeling this verticality, this downward and upward continuum. Next, exhale, bring the arms down, weight back to the back leg, and step both feet next to each other with a little bit of space. And see, perhaps something feels quite different now. This next side we'll do something very similar. The motion is similar. The breath will be a little different. The head and eyes will be a little different. So a few times, let's just see, because it will be different because of the two sides of the body being different as we let ourselves roll from the golden ball. And you can even sort of allow that, the ball rolling forward as we come forward, back as we go back. Or maybe it's a slide. Or maybe the ball rolls back as you step forward, but just have that as if it's the initiating place is lower dantian, is from the Eastern, is that from, forgetting the name of the tradition right now. It'll come to me. So now we're going to lift hands on the exhale and look up as if we're asking, like a little baby or toddler, not quite a baby, maybe a baby, inhaling as the arms come down, exhaling, looking up, asking, lift me up, mama, lift me up, papa, lift me up, up, up. My cat even does this. He reaches up on my leg. It's so darn cute. Exhaling, looking up. And so at the same time as we're lifting up, we can avail ourselves that we're still very solid on the ground. And when we're first learning to walk, um, that is we're finding that out for sure. So hold the position now. Feel this asking for help, asking for clarity, asking for the answer to something we don't know, asking for peace, asking for something, and breathing and feeling that we're in this space. We're not alone, and especially along this vertical continuum. And inhaling, bring it all back. Step the feet parallel to each other roughly. If you did that from laying down, you still could feel that length, letting the body, that verticality, even though you'd be horizontal, letting that be the channel you're sensing through, using that central channel from the yogic wisdom. And now feel, perhaps your breathing feels different, perhaps your state of mind feels differently. Now, perhaps body is feeling different. The way you feel yourself in relation to everything, perhaps that's different. And so from here, I'm going to choose to come to sitting. You could choose to, I'm going to segue to meditating soon. Could choose to stay in standing for the rest of the time, or just choose the position that works for you. And keep some sense of what we've been, move slowly so we don't break this mind state that we've just come into, which is different from the mind state of our usual our our when we're moving through life and doing a lot of things, that state is quite different. Is that what I need? I hope my sound is good today. So I'm just not going to read the whole poem, but last week I read the poem "Lost" when the topic was not lost, and part of what its many gifts is this idea of uh, when we're feeling lost, that to check that when are we not right here, and if we know we're here, are we lost? We're lost relative to things, and we're lost in our thoughts, or we're lost in our fear, or we're lost in our worry, we're lost in our frustration, and we forget that we're grounded, that there's so much more to the picture. But the poem invites us that the creatures of the forest, they're not lost. That da, 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 they no two branches are the same to raven. No two trees are the same to raven. No two branches are the same to wren. If what a tree or bush is done is lost on you, what a tree or bush does is lost on you, then you are surely lost. And the remedy is stand still. The forest knows where you are. You must let it find you. And Russell changed the words a little bit to say, um, no two moments are the same to ground. No two breaths are the same to space. If what a moment or a breath does is lost on you, then surely you are lost. Stand still. The moment knows where you are. You must let it find you. So this is called Lost. It's by David Wagoner. It was in last week's notes and the topic of last part of the topic last week. And this week, the topic horse whisperer. So you can be gathering what you need to move into the stillness part of this of our practice. Horse whisperer, horse whispering. So it was a movie with mm, 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 things, softness of mind. Um, yeah. um, yeah, you probably know. Um, I'm seeing his face and I can't remember it. So there's this how we talk to one another, how someone has talked, and you can go into inquiry mode now as we're preparing for our stillness part, the meditation portion. And let's look to how someone did this for us, modeled it for us, gave it to us, to you. Let your mind that's been grounded and settled now into this moment. Remember a time and bring it to vividness now. Remember a time how someone listened to you when you were in a time of need, and perhaps others were not hearing you or not listening to you. And bring that to bear as if it's happening right here. Roll that movie that you probably know very well. But we might more often visit the times we were hurt, and there's a there's reason for that. That wants our attention. We'll come to that. So the time someone listened to you, and heard you, and where were you? I was in a physician's office, Ayurvedic physician's office. I had told my story to many others. And this particular person, the way she listened to me was there had been some others that listened pretty well and some that didn't at all. Those are the ones that really hurt. But this one in contrast. And what was the what, for the my setting was fairly clean, was fairly sterile, but it was comfortable. And for me, and maybe this is true for you. So when you find when you're bringing this to Technicolor, um, find your truth about your memory. While I'm not remembering so much about the feel of the room, the colors, I remember the feel of being listened to and the way it burst my heart open, the relief, the tears, the feel of how I was listened to, how my body and my heart felt it. So for you, notice whatever is relevant to you about how you were listened to. So I'm saying the title was Horse Whisperer, but I feel that in order to speak to another in their language, and that could be another human who speaks the same language as you, but how we really listen to them, how do we get to know, what they're able to hear? And that could be of touch. With my animals, it's a lot about how do they want to be touched, and other humans. Gently on the shoulder, not at all touched, firmly, a lot, a little, none. We touch with our eyes, the way we gaze, the way we're present, with our body language. So feel how this way that you were heard, that you were related to, how it feels in your body, and celebrate that, relish in this feeling. And I just had another wave of another instance of that kind of mirror on, almost like dreamlike, like onto my story here. Now, shift from that one if you're ready to. Shift to a time and a place when you think in a way that you have been a good listener, to begin that process of horse whispering to another. It may be recent, it may be long, long ago, it may be a little bit fantasy, and the other one may have been too. What would you like it to be? Maybe an element in here. How would you like yourself to be a good listener? And you can use that instance like something, and it doesn't have to be with humans. I should have said this before. Perhaps some of these kinds of inquiries, I choose my inanimate, well, I'd say inanimate. Animate could be animals, could be stones, it could be trees, it could be, when I say stones, it could be, I happen to love stones. It could be a gem, or it could be a favorite rock you have. I have some favorite ones over there. Or it could be the granite cliff that you're somewhere you've hiked to. You're listening to it. You're present for it. How is that? How does it feel in your body, in your being, in your heart, in your senses to be that listener? So this listening, keep in that imagery, bring it to life, smells, colors, body sensations, responses. And then that listening, turning that to ourself, turning that to ourselves is what I'd like to do. Um, I'm going to do it, let that segue us into the meditation. We'll do it in sort of a broad way, some broad way, and it can be done in a more inquiry heavy, particular way that we just did. But for the meditation, like us to just hold the space for whatever arises. There may be some listening, something that some wound, some um, grievance that comes to light, some emotion that really wants, begs our listening, and allow it for a little bit, but not necessarily, don't glom onto it too tight. And I'll guide us through that. So, despite that YouTube doesn't convey the bell sound, I'm going to ring it to start our meditation, which will be about 7 minutes. And our so we've already been in a more meditative. We've been toward the meditative state. The If we were to measure the brain waves of in our brain, that are different already as we've been doing these presence infused, presence remembering practices. You might revisit the ground, the gravity pull, the corresponding levity upward, a feel of breathing, listening, and the awareness of space around. Land toward a more still place and allow our mind now, which has been open and available and yet honed into these inquiries of a good listening done for us, some way we were a good listener to another. And now, as we come to our meditation seat or position, however it is, we just let ourselves be this open, wide open, boundless space that we are. Be the relaxed presence for all that's arising. And we can become this listener for ourselves. It's so essential to that, allowing ourselves and others to be the witnessers, not witness, not just witness, witnessers of our joys, our pains, our being, our questions. And this meditation practice, we get to reside as that which we are completely capable of doing. We have all the, we are that. So it's not like we have to try, but that in that is the sort of conundrum and koan. Let what comes come. Let what goes go. Be what always remains. You can't do this wrong. You can't not be your true self, no matter what shenanigans and disguises and journeys, um, mm, dogleg, distracted journeys we may take. You're always your true self, which is this boundless presence, awareness. It's a real bonus when these turbulences arise that we get to see and feel and try out, how could I be? How can I be the presence here? How can I be the awareness that just by its nature is compassionate because it turns nothing away? About 6 more breaths together in this practice. This listening that we offer ourselves and avail ourselves from others and ask for it as we need it. So important to the healing of our own wounds and tangled knots. There's a fellow named Resma Menachem who I listened to. I have his book. I haven't read it yet. My Grandmother's Hands started about 4 years ago. He talks about, he's a therapist and worked with veterans from Afghanistan, soldiers who'd been there, and himself, and through trauma and through racial issues and wounds. And he cautions that we really need to first help each other in groups that we are feel very safe with. If we reach out to more difficult conversations when we're still very wounded ourselves, we can end up exacerbating the issues, the wounds. So we really need to do the work for ourselves. Um, and if you're listening to this during at the time of recording, it's a very polarized time in our United States politics and life and in the world, really. So there are some really different lenses people are seeing things through and needs. And I also like to hear from people that we need to remember we are probably much more alike than we are different. We are many, many, many ways more, like 90% more. But it's very difficult when we have things that are and we're holding on in ways to protect ourselves, and we need to. But this process of listening more to ourselves, uh, availing ourselves, there's so many routes in addition to these presence practices, to yoga, to Taoism. That was the one for Taoism for the Tao Dantian, and it was Robert Redford, I remembered. So various therapies that really include the body, because the body's keeping the score, as Bessel van der Kolk writes about. So many tools to avail ourselves of. And speaking of what day it is, November 3rd, it is my pups. He's sleeping near me. That's Rocky's seventh. You see him there? It's Rocky's seventh birthday. He's got a treat awaiting him, a marrow bone to gnaw on. So I don't think he knows it yet, but he's going to be a very happy pup later. So thank you for joining me. Thank you, Nancy and Kathy and Amanda and Lauren who signed up, and for all the rest of you. Maybe Virginia's out there. Maybe I'm not sure. Mary Beth, I'd love to talk to you. So many of you. Please be in touch. aLex at sunandmoonstudio.com. Leave a comment here or in the notes below, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Oh, and check out sunandmoonstudio.com.